Hi, Ingrid.
Hi, Clarissa.
I'm so excited. I'm a huge fan of the NB box. I'm so excited that you're joining us on the Oasis show today. So tell us a little bit about who is Ingrid?
Oh, it's not that interesting a story, really. I am from St. John. I'm a wife. I have three little boys, three kids. We live, in the suburbs.
Suburbs
But
of St. John.
the suburbs of St. John, Milledgeville.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I kind of grew up away from here and then came back for university and worked uptown, as the young people do.
Hmm.
And I worked for the St. John Ale House actually for like 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
And they are a very community focused business. They're very support local. Always, Pete, the owner, used to say, a rising tide floats all boats.
Hmm.
So like community over competition kind of thing.
Hmm.
And in working there for that long, I sort of, that set of beliefs became sort of a part of who I am too.
Hmm.
And I learned a lot about business in that time as well, even though I wasn't, I didn't know it.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I've always had this interest in supporting small business and shopping locally.
Hmm.
And it just sort of, here we are.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
just
the
sort of grew.
so the whole premise around like the NB box really started with your focus on Miss New Brunswick
Yeah, I
and
had a blog.
a blog. So how did something like a blog all of a sudden turn into you
Yeah,
know you supporting hundreds of businesses across the province?
it was really organic, actually. I started the blog after I had my second son. I was like craving some sort of connection to the community. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. It's just kind of like lonely. Motherhood just wasn't 100% fulfilling the way I thought it would be. I thought staying home full time with my kids was going to be the thing that did it for me, that really filled my cup. And in fact, I found that it just wasn't enough for me. Like, parenting is wonderful and I love my kids so much, but I wanted just something that was mine, something else. So I started the blog literally just as a way to talk to other adults, I think.
Hmm.
And I had only one idea for like a recurring series on the blog, and it was to interview women around the province who had successful small businesses. And I did that for about a year and actually was really popular. My blog actually was really successful. I got interviewed on CBC. I was on the radio a few times. I would reach out to people to interview them and they'd be like, "Oh, I've read your blog." Like, that was awesome. That's a really great feeling, measure of success. Like when someone's already heard about you, you don't have to explain what you're doing.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had done that for about a year, and then I decided Mother's Day of 2018 that I was going to do a giveaway on the blog, um, using some of the products from these women that I had featured over the past year. And the response to the giveaway was massive, massive. And I thought, that there was an opportunity for a business in there, because actually assembling the contents for the giveaway was very painstaking and difficult, because so many small businesses operate like out of people's homes. Like, I'm in my home now.
Right.
So I was meeting women at the McDonald's parking lot, at the playground. I was meeting them, in their driveways to pick up these really high quality artisanal goods. But they're just not easily or conveniently shopped. So I kind of felt after the giveaway that there was a business idea like in there. If I could make purchasing these kinds of products convenient, then I probably could make something out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was Mother's Day 2018, and by July I had launched the NB box. So it
Wow.
wasn't long.
And how many products did you start with?
Only 7. And I also, like, I would say we're known for the build your own. Like, most people assemble their own gift, but when we started, there was no choice. It was,
Mhm.
this is the box.
Right. Yeah.
7 products. Because inventory is expensive,
Hmm.
and it was a new business venture. So we didn't want to invest more than what we could risk losing.
Right. So
So,
what's your 30 for those watching and they're not, as enamored by the NB box as I am, what's your 30-second pitch to when somebody says, what is an NB box anyway? What do you tell them?
oh, I say it's a gift box filled with locally made New Brunswick goods. Like, you really don't have to sell more than that. People really want to buy the stuff that's from home. They want to get stuff that reminds them, if they live somewhere else now, of what reminds them of when they lived here. And people also love, I think the trend we're seeing, especially amidst COVID, is that people want to support local, and literally everything we carry is local.
It really is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned to you, I got one for my daughter for her 20th birthday, and it was a no-brainer because I wanted to support, my job with Oasis takes me across the province, and so I wanted to support all these businesses that I had met, and it was such an easy thing to do. But it was so fun as well, picking and choosing what I thought that she would like in the box. And you can put, I know it's like a minimum 3, but then you could fill the box with however. And I could picture it getting bigger and bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
as I was choosing. So I think it's awesome. So is there one product that you've had the longest that you started with that you still have?
Uh, of those first 7 products, we still have 5. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I try not to, like, once I bring something in, I try to keep that forever. With some
Mhm.
exceptions, like, there are so many soap makers in New Brunswick, like, so many. So I do try to sort of, like, I don't know, rotate through them just to give everybody kind of, I don't know, fair shot. But
Yeah.
once you establish a retailer relationship with a small business, they come to rely on your orders.
Mhm.
So it's sort of important to many businesses that you continue to buy from them at the volume that you've gotten them accustomed to producing,
Mhm.
because that's how they grow too.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that COVID wasn't kind to some businesses. For you, it was, it kind of put a spotlight or,
Yeah.
on you. What's been your biggest achievement in all of this? Even in the last, 3 months, what's been your biggest achievement that you pat yourself on the back and say, I'm really proud of that?
Yeah. Well, I'm really proud that we didn't shut the website down. We talked about it at least 10 times just to catch up. Like, um, just to put it into perspective, like, 60% of our annual sales happen in the Christmas season, which is like about a 10-week period for us, end of October to the end of December, roughly. Um, and we did like twice what we did at Christmas, in the 5 weeks leading up to Mother's Day.
Mhm.
But at Christmas, we had staff,
Right.
we had seasonal help, and we also had childcare.
Mhm.
Um, and leading up to Mother's Day was just me and my husband, plus our 3 kids were home. Anyway, it was really, really difficult. It was a lot of late nights and a lot of early mornings. And many times we talked about shutting the website down, at least just get caught up. And that can be really stressful to feel like, we have the inventory. If we have the inventory, we should be selling as much as possible. It wasn't about that. It was about, what can I accomplish in a day? Because it's just the 2 of us.
Mhm.
Anyway, we didn't end up having to do it. We just, like, literally white knuckled it out. With a gift business too, we knew that it was because of Mother's Day. We
Mhm.
knew Mother's Day would come and go.
Yes.
So there was sort of like a light at the end of the tunnel there for us, so to speak. I
Yeah.
mean, we still actually have orders and pack boxes and ship every day. It's just that those big holidays are real peaks for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, really difficult. The other thing that's been really hard is maintaining a steady supply and not running out of inventory, because when you do so much volume, you attract new customers. Like it's crazy. People post what they got on Facebook, and then all of a sudden their whole Facebook are also buying boxes.
Yes.
They've never heard of you. They're brand new customers. And that's wonderful. That's amazing growth. You can't buy that type of organic advertising, but it means that we were running out of product like way faster than normal.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, many of our suppliers are having real difficulty getting what they need in order to keep producing.
And they're having the same issue as you are. They're home with their husbands and their children, and they're trying to produce to get out to their people as
Absolutely.
well. So
Yeah. In some
yeah,
cases, it kind of worked out because all of a sudden we're buying maybe 2 or 3 or 4 times what we were buying before. And they've also lost 2 or 3 or 4 times the amount of business, because other stores have closed or they're not going to farmers markets or whatever. So in
mhm,
some cases, it was like, it worked out great because all of a sudden they had a decrease in their revenue and we had an increase in need. And
right.
so it worked out great. But in many cases, it's exactly right. They're also home with their kids.
Mhm.
They're not able to get their packaging or some ingredients or whatever. They're waiting on shipments or deliveries. And some of them too are working full-time jobs, like I shouldn't say real jobs, but
No,
like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, like many small businesses start as like a side hustle.
right.
Yeah, or an
And they
after.
could be a nurse, or they could be a doctor, or they could be, somebody like a childcare worker, or somebody who's, it's a side gig, and so they're still working. Yeah.
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 So those have been our two biggest, I would say, roadblocks, but also we just made it happen.
Mhm. Yeah.
Sometimes there's a silver lining there too because we're able to bring in new stuff.
Hmm.
When we're busier, we can afford more things, but
Yeah.
also if somebody is not able to, you know, send us twice as much as they normally would, that's fine. We can go to somebody else and yeah,
And
and
share,
grow the product list.
share the love. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
so let's doing it just a little shift here. So when we look at the summer of 2020 and, the province of New Brunswick being, our borders are closed to, other tourists. So we're kind of like New Brunswickers for New Brunswick this summer. And so as I said, as I was going through your website, when I was choosing my box, I felt like I was doing a little tour. So when we look at some of the the things that you can put in your box, and they're all New Brunswick companies, how has it changed your view of the province, as you're collecting all these things to be curated in the boxes?
Yeah, it's actually been an immense mindset change because for so long, St. John, I just assumed, I guess, that the rest of the province was just a larger version of St. John.
Okay.
It turns out St. John is like very unique. For one thing, I think my exposure to the French community has been greatly, I basically didn't have any exposure to francophones before. There is a French population in St. John, but it's not
Small.
very large. Yeah. So especially as you go northern New Brunswick and east past Moncton, it's predominantly French. And
Mhm.
I'm embarrassed to say I literally had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's up here?
yeah,
Yeah.
I really didn't know.
Mhm.
So, I mean, like from a business perspective, when we started the NB box, I always wanted to be inclusive of the whole province, but it took learning about what else was out there to realize that I couldn't be inclusive unless I was bilingual.
Mhm.
Truthfully, like, so now the website has an English French option,
Okay.
and also now our insert cards have an English French option. But when I started the business, and for at least the first 18 months, that was not even on my radar.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't even get my first product that was labeled in just French, like instead of just English, until recently, like really recently, from
Okay.
Paraket. I like many businesses have bilingual
Mm-hmm.
labels, but I I hadn't gotten my first like fully
Fully
French
French, right?
product, yeah,
Yeah.
until recently.
Yeah.
So that's
And
also kind of embarrassing.
well, but you know what? But I think it's like so great of you to say, because, when I travel the province, and I live in Miramichi, and I travel the province, and, you know, I come from a trucking, family. So I say I have trucker in my blood. So I've been to seem like every corner of the province for work. And there's a lot of people who will still say to me, like, where's Miramichi? Or, you know, like when I met my husband, he didn't even know he hadn't even been to St. John, and he was like 35 years old. So,
Yeah.
it's interesting. And I think that, it really shows that, you could be looking at a product, and, the name of the communities there, and you're like, where even is that? So it causes us to start looking at where our products are made and who these people are. And so I think it's the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you is because, if you're rolling through your website, it's like you're rolling through the province, and
Yeah.
you may be able to visit some of these places this summer, or you may see their products on shelves. And, it's important to know that they're all come from New Brunswick.
Yeah. The other thing that really I discovered was St. John is a coastal community, and you know, only some of the province is a coastal community. And when I think about home in New Brunswick, I think of the ocean. But I had a friend who's from Bathurst, and they have some waterfront too, but they don't think of themselves in that same way. And she said once, like, I'm always so frustrated when I see imagery depicting the province or the region and its lighthouses and waves,
Mm-hmm.
because so much of like so much of what's here is actually trees
Right. Yeah.
or even sort of like dry, grassy, whatever land. And she was like, it's just so reductive to portray our province as like just this oceanfront coastal community when the reality is that we're mostly woodlands.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And people will depict you by where you live. So when I say I'm from the Miramichi, the first thing people ask me is, "Oh, do you fish?" And I
Yeah.
don't fish, and so they automatically think that, everybody, so it's interesting that they kind of pigeonhole us into where, what they
Where
think
you're
that each
from.
community does, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So so are you able to kind of give us, without, playing favorites, if you could give, the people watching today, you know, products to watch for, or if you're traveling the province,
Yeah.
and these people have storefronts, is there anywhere that you would suggest that they check out?
Only a handful have storefronts. Most people sell at the local farmers market. And one of our big goals for 2020, and we're unsure if it's going to happen, was a big road trip, especially through northern New Brunswick, to scope out the farmers markets. Because another reason that we've had trouble sourcing products from communities that aren't, in the Fundy region or aren't Anglophone are because my personal network is down here and are English speaking. So we
Right.
thought a great way to actually like source new things would be to do like a little tour to New Brunswick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but if you are taking a trip, Miramichi has a ton of stuff going on.
we do.
Um,
Yeah.
Really, the candles right behind me here are
Hmm.
C&T, and the sisters that make these candles actually do own a store called Crackle and Teal.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
just right down the street from my house.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's also the Urban Nest in Miramichi, and
Yeah.
Laura, who owns that business, sells a ton of local products as well. You
Mhm.
have a business there called the Sweet Soapery.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like Bath and Body Works. And she's very well known
Hmm.
all over the place among bath enthusiasts.
Hmm.
She's got a large following. But if you're going like sort of north if you're going up from St. John sort of north, another area that has a lot, like every community has a lot going on, but if you're in the Grand Falls or Perth area, there's a ton of makers out of that little area. It's really great. And all kinds of products like felted stuff, fiber arts, pottery, textiles, food, lots and lots of products coming out of Grand Falls, Perth, and the Tobic communities. And even Campbellton, Edmonton, if we're going way up, I know for sure of several Bath and Body shops, and on the other side too, like over by Tracadie, there's I'm gonna say it wrong because I'm not French at all, but I think it's like the Marmite Soapery, Savonnerie, sorry.
Yeah.
And Olivier is also up in Bathurst. Olivier Soaps.
Yeah. Olivier is just down. Yeah. And they've been around for quite a while. And then I mean, and you can continue on. I mean, like the amount of people like up in St. Andrews area, and like the lady that we talked about who has the mugs right on her porch, through Moncton and those places. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I know that that a lot of times. But a lot of times people will say that, there's nothing here or there's no products here. And
Not true.
That's right. And I think that we just need to shine the spotlight on that. So I really appreciate your time. I've enjoyed chatting with you. And I wish you all the best. And you'll probably be seeing my name come in a few more times for a couple of gifts, because it's super easy. And I really enjoyed scrolling through the website. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Clarissa.